good morning, depending on where you are. Again, welcome to this Henry Schein Tech Central webinar. Thanks for joining us, and a special thanks to all of you who are Henry Schein customers. We appreciate your business. I'm Alan Crow. I'm the Marketing Manager for Henry Schein Tech Central. I'm joined today by Tony DeGonia from WatchGuard Technologies, as well as our own Brian Calverley, the National Sales Manager for Henry Schein Tech Central. We'll hear from them in a minute, but I want to thank each of them for being with us. All right, who is Tech Central? Tech Central leads the industry in providing superior technology solutions that are optimized and integrated for the dental practices. Unlike many other IT companies, we have a single source team of experts that design, deliver, and support computers, networks, phone systems, and security solutions that protect the practice and its data, such as network security and data encryption. During the next hour, along with WatchGuard Technologies, we'll provide valuable information about the importance of data security and how to protect yourself from the inevitable attack. There are a handful of widgets at the bottom of your screen. Feel free to submit questions during the presentation using the Q&A widget, or share content via social media using the Share This widget. And don't forget to complete the survey found to the right hand of your screen following the webinar. This allows us to continually improve and provide the information that is most important to you. Our first presenter will be Tony DeGonia, Sales Engineer at WatchGuard Technologies. Tony has worked for a variety of technology-based companies, including telecom, IT outsourcing, and managed service providers. This experience has enabled him to have a 360-degree view of business and engineering requirements of data and network security for both WatchGuard and their partners. Tony, we'll now turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Alan. And everyone, welcome. Thank you for the wonderful opportunity to come and speak to you on today's webinar. We're going to start today by talking about how to protect your practice from cybercrime. Just to kick off, we want to start by letting you know there's a dark side to technology, as everyone's probably aware. Today's cyber threats are more sophisticated than ever. Cyber criminals may be hacktivists with social agendas who want to disrupt your day-to-day productivity, or organized identity theft rings seeking your patient's financial or personal data. While technology can make your dental office more efficient, the dark side is that 60% of small businesses have been victims of cyber attacks. The average cost of a cyber attack is roughly $20,752. And only 44% of businesses rank cybersecurity as very important to their business. The reality is, according to the National Cybersecurity Alliance, 1 in 5 small businesses, including dental offices, fall victim to a cybercrime each year. And of those, some 60% go out of business within 6 months after an attack. Small businesses make easy targets. SMBs typically spend less time and money on network security than larger firms. That means they're easy targets for cyber criminals. Now the cyber attacks are automated and focused on discovering vulnerabilities. You can't assume that hackers won't pick your dental practice out of 27 million other small businesses. Small cyber attacks stay under the radar. On average, security breaches at large companies cost between $697,000 and $1.3 million in 2013. For a small business, a breach could cost between $53,500 and about $100,000. Targeting many smaller businesses rather than a few large companies keeps immediate and government attention off hackers, allowing them to make high returns from multiple targets. Incredibly, your practice data may not be the ultimate target. Your office may simply be the weakest link in a chain of trust attack, in which hackers prey on small, underprotected supply chain targets to get to their larger business partners. For example, The 2014 Target breach reportedly occurred when attackers stole network credentials from Target's HVAC provider. Data breaches threaten small businesses. Breaches keep increasing. We're getting smarter, but we still have our doors open to theft. As the graphic shows, from 2014 to 2015, there was an 18% increase in data breaches across all businesses, with a 39% decrease in the number of records stolen. This is primarily attributed to the types of victims that were targets from 2014 to 2015. Smaller businesses generally yield smaller record counts, but that does not devalue the breach overall, as SMB victims are less likely to be on the radar of law enforcement authorities. The 2016 statistics are for the first 8 months of 2016 only, but 2016 is rounding out to be a big year for data breaches and record loss. So let's talk about the top 10 industries for records loss. The top 10 industries for data breaches are consistently growing year over year, with retail, government, and technology holding the lion's share of data breaches, combining for a staggering 65% of data breaches globally. Number 4 and 5 on the list are a combination of smaller industries that account for 19% of records lost across several industries, with the financial sector coming in at number 6 with just 9% of the total records lost. The healthcare industry is one of the most breached. Healthcare accounts for just 7% of records lost globally. However, the number equates to just under 250 million records over a 3-year period. Education, hospitality, and insurance round out the bottom. To put these numbers in perspective, the total number of records stolen was just over 3.6 billion in that time frame. Human error in the healthcare industry. Human error causes the majority of PHI data breaches, and healthcare employees cause 3 times as many breaches as external attacks. Healthcare organizations make up roughly 33% of all data security breaches across all industries, making healthcare one of the most breached industries in the U.S. Human error causes the majority of PHI data breaches, and healthcare employees cause 3 times as many breaches as external attacks. The most common cause of data breaches in the healthcare organizations are theft, hacking, unauthorized access or disclosure, lost records and devices, and improper disposal of records. A significant proportion of healthcare breaches are a result of lost or stolen mobile devices, tablets, and laptops. How healthcare is breached. The most common causes of data breaches in healthcare organizations are theft, hacking, unauthorized access or disclosure, lost records and devices, and improper disposal of records. A significant proportion of healthcare breaches are a result of stolen and mobile devices. More than half of all organizations that suffer from security breaches have fewer than 1,000 employees. So let's dig into a little history. 2014 is what we call the year of the big hack. 2014 woke us up. Headlines were big on breaches leaving small business with a false sense of security. Major breaches made major headlines, such as Target, eBay, Home Depot, Michaels, and many others. Another lesson that was learned was that a lot of attacks were based on chain of trust attacks. What that means is that attackers actually go after smaller businesses that have access to larger target businesses, no pun intended, in order to gain access. In the case of Target, their breach occurred because of a security deficiency in their HVAC vendor. which allowed hackers to gain access to Target systems through the vendor system that was tied to Target's main network. Target's network, though probably configured improperly, allowed the hacker, once they were in, to traverse their entire network and gain access to Target's POS system and financial record systems. The end result, which is very important to understand, was that both the CEO and the CIO were terminated from Target over this attack. This is the first time that a major hack has really came into the C-suite and affected, the folks that actually run the company. So here's 5 reasons that hackers attack dental offices. Not just dental offices, but small businesses as well. It's because they're the weakest link. They're less protected, low-hanging fruit. Dental offices are actually in the chain of trust. Dental office attacks draw less attention because they're smaller. Dental offices have very valuable data. They have a lot of PHI as well as financial information. And opportunistic attacks still exist. Automatic attacks look for any victim, and they plant ransomware. Another interesting thing to note is that Visa reports that small businesses, such as dental offices, report more than 90% of the payment data, represent more than 90% of payment data breaches reported to their company. So why do dental offices need strong security? Well, there's a lot of reasons. Hacking, zero-day exploits, malware, spear phishing, spoofing, Internet of Things, botnet, watering holes. These words are just a few of the words that are now part of our everyday vocabulary. A whole new vocabulary that's been developed in the past decade alone surrounding technology and the Internet. However, probably the scariest word of all has got to be ransomware. Ransomware is a form of computer malware that restricts access to your computer and or your network, its information, while demanding you pay a ransom to regain access. So imagine this. A bad guy breaks into your house, locks you out of your life. No access to your home, money, cars, friends, family, or anything. You're just locked out. That's essentially what ransomware does. It locks you out of everything until you pay the ransom. So the rise of ransomware really started around 2013. And it started with a couple of malwares called CryptoLocker, CTB Locker, CryptoWall, Locky. I'm sure you guys have heard of these. And they're pretty ugly. Ransomware has been called the largest scale extortion in the history of mankind. It's been around since the late 80s and was originally deployed on floppy disks. Polymorphic variations make it much more difficult to detect an infection, as well as keeping affecting security definitions written. Today, Bitcoin ransoms average between $500 and $10,000 to get your data back. So let's talk about the cost of ransomware. Dental offices are subject to large HIPAA fines for ransomware. The federal government is cracking down. When I was writing this, I did a study and I got a lot more information on this. Depending on the size and type of the breach, fines for breaches, especially for ransomware, calculated at a minimum of $100 per instance and $50,000 per instance. These fines do not include the up to $250,000 in criminal fines. The only bright side is that there are caps on the fines that the federal government will dole out, and they're capped at $1.5 million in fines. Federal compliance is starting to take the issue of records and information security and privacy very seriously. So should you. So let's talk about how malware, and more specifically ransomware, gets in. So now that you know what happens in regards to fines and penalties, if you do get a data breach in your dental office, the question now is, how does all this malware get into your network? Well, it starts off, one of the most popular ways is through spear phishing. Spear phishing is a mature version of phishing. It specifically targets victims. It appears to be from someone you know. It most likely will include your name. It'll look very official. A lot of the more popular spear phishing attacks are coming from FedEx or invoices, purchase orders, things like that. Anything where they can get you to either open up a zip file or to make a transaction of some type from your bank account. There's also watering holes. Watering holes take advantage of vulnerabilities in your browser. They get people to visit their website, and then while you're visiting the website, they download software in what's called a drive-by download. This one particular instance happened where the VA website was infected with a watering hole, and so thousands of veterans, as they were visiting that website, were infected. It was pretty ugly. Then there's chain of trust attacks. They take advantage of vulnerabilities in browsers and get people to visit their sites. Chain of trust are very sophisticated attacks. In one case, RSA authentication token technology was stolen, used to get into Lockheed Martin in an attempt to probably get into the Department of Defense. However, Lockheed Martin discovered the breach and prevented it from going further. So phishing has evolved. If you take a look at the email on the left, that's kind of what an old school phishing attack looked like. There's a lot of text-based, no real color. It was pretty easy to spot. It wasn't very effective. If you take a look at the phishing attack on the right, though, if you're a member of the American Institute of CPAs, that's what their emails look like. It's very effective. Uses their logos, their color schemes. It'll even use link masking, things like that, in order to deceive the recipient and get them to click on a link. They've been very, very effective in more recent days. Let's talk about some other ways that malware gets in. Cyber criminals are getting smarter. They've recently started inserting malicious code into legitimate online advertising, so that when a user visits a legitimate website or sees or clicks on legitimate advertisements on a reputable ad network, they're getting infected. This is similar to a watering hole, but the malware is even more difficult to detect because everything around it is legitimate and validated. In the recent years, we've seen a 325% increase in malvertising. Ransomware plagues the small business sector. Ransomware does not just affect the other guys. Since its inception, ransomware has affected thousands of organizations, from nonprofits to law firms. Hospitals like Hollywood Presbyterian, which was just recently infected with Lockheed, school districts, and many other agencies. One case in particular was in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. Their police department was infected by a piece of ransomware. They called in the FBI, Homeland Security, the Massachusetts State Police, a couple of private info security firms, and they could not decrypt the ransomware. The FBI eventually paid the ransom, which was about 500 Bitcoin, when they couldn't. So why didn't they just reinstall the backup? Well, the last backup was on a corrupted hard drive. The last on a good hard drive was 18 months old. In this particular case, the FBI, after a great deal of effort, paid the ransom. But of course, we recommend not to, if at all possible. Use the backup of an older system. Once you pay, you're encouraging the extortion. Plus, there's no guarantee that the malware is gone. They can come back and easily demand more money at any time. So let's talk about Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi adoption has grown at astronomical rates over the last 5 years and shows no signs of slowing. Everywhere you look, you see free Wi-Fi signs. Free Wi-Fi, while seemingly great for your patients, can also lead to a number of issues that need to be addressed in the prevention of security breaches. First off, there are computers in everything. The Internet of Things. Everything is being connected to the Internet. By the end of 2015, there were 3 billion things that were connected to the Internet. By the end of 2020, that number is estimated to increase to 25 billion. 50 plus computers in your car and OnStar and similar systems connected to the Internet. Examples of products with IoT computers and devices that connect to the Internet. Your smart thermostat. Nest is the most recognizable. Saves on energy by controlling your temperature from your phone, adding fire alarms. It was recently bought by Google for over $3 billion. In my recent experience at the dentist, I found that there were computers in the patient chairs, X-ray machines, smart TVs, digital signage. There's computers in your printers that you're not aware of, as well as wireless in a lot of cases. Digital lights, Philips LED bulbs. It's not just for mood lighting, color and brightness, but it can blink if it detects an intruder if it's connected to your alarm system. It can connect to Netflix to change lighting based on movie scenes or color palettes. A couple of non-medical related items that are just kind of interesting to think about. Tesla is actually connected to the Internet. So if you own one of Tesla's cars and a repair is needed, Tesla will autonomously schedule a valet to pick up the vehicle and take it to the nearest Tesla facility for service. There's also smart roads, sensors in the roads that help traffic when accidents, traffic jams, or climate issues arise. There's also dash buttons. You guys have probably seen those on Amazon. You can buy them. They'll tell you when you're running low on detergent or on this or that or whatever. They're all connected to the Internet as well. Garage door openers, things like that. They can tell time about when your doors open and close. It's great for your kids. It's horrible for bad guys because then they can figure out things about what's going on in your house. So IoT introduces new risks to small businesses and dental offices. From HP's Internet of Things research study in 2015, 90% of devices collected at least one piece of personal information via the device, the cloud, or its mobile app. 6 out of 10 devices that provide user interfaces were vulnerable to a range of issues, such as weak credentials. 80% of devices, along with the cloud and mobile app components, failed to require passwords of a sufficient complexity or length. 70% of devices, along with the cloud and mobile applications, enable an attacker to identify valid user accounts through account enumeration. And 70% of devices use unencrypted network services. So it's opening a big gaping hole for network security. The Wi-Fi is growing exponentially. Never mind the exact numbers here, but this is a chart from Wiggle.net that tracks the number of new Wi-Fi networks per day within their global network of participants. We're officially looking at hockey stick growth here. Wi-Fi is growing exponentially. Would you believe that we've passed the 10 billion Wi-Fi devices sold mark last year? Public hotspots are a huge factor. Of these Wi-Fi networks, public hotspots are a huge contributor. This data is from iPass, and as you can see, the screen is from mid-April 2015, I believe. And we're up to 110 million public hotspots worldwide. And check out the growth numbers. The number of Wi-Fi hotspots has grown over 288% since 2013. And North America is on fire with over 4,000% growth in just a few years' time. Mobile threats. Tons of threats are popping up every day. Millions of threats yearly are being created to go after mobile devices. The majority of these threats are aimed at Android. That doesn't mean that you Apple iPhone users are safe, because they're writing stuff every day trying to crack into those devices as well. So Wi-Fi is easy. Secure Wi-Fi is a challenge. Wi-Fi password cracking. There's all kinds of ways that folks are trying to get into your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi password cracking is one of them. APs that use older security protocols like WEP make for easy targets. Rogue hotspots. Cyber criminals enable a foreign AP near your hotspot with a matching SSID, inviting unsuspecting customers to log in. They still get to the same place that they were going, except now the cyber criminal can actually see what's going on their own network. Planting malware. Hackers plant a backdoor on your network, allowing them to return at a later date to steal sensitive information. Eavesdropping, having private communications detected or packet sniffed by nosy cyber snoops while on an unprotected wireless network. Data theft. Joining a wireless network puts users at risk of losing private documents that may contain highly sensitive information to cyber thieves. For example, going to Starbucks, connecting to the Wi-Fi, and using a laptop that you would be using in your practice network could cause an issue there. Inappropriate or illegal usage. Adult or extremist content and illegal downloads can leave businesses open to copyright infringement lawsuits. For example, you've got free Wi-Fi at your practice, and someone comes in and starts streaming a movie from an illegal website. Next thing you know, your internet service provider is looking at you guys for streaming that, not the person who was actually doing it. Bad neighbors. Mobile attacks like Android stage fright can spread from guest to guest, even if a victim zero is oblivious to the outbreak. So now that you know that your dental practice is at risk, now's the time to take steps to protect it from cybercrime. So let's talk about 3 steps to protect your practice. A full security solution has multiple layers. WatchGuard likes to use the term defense in depth. There are many different security solutions, and none of them are a silver bullet that will solve all problems. You may have heard of some of these: firewalls, antivirus, anti-spam, anti-malware. All of them are valued, but we say you need all of them. No single defense will protect you completely from computer attacks. Think of it as how we protect our house from burglaries. We never used to lock our doors, such as a free router from our internet provider doesn't really provide security. Then we started locking our doors. We added deadbolts, chains, got a loud dog with a big bark, alarm systems, security cameras, gated communities, and the list goes on. For example, Legacy defense strategies such as simple firewalls aren't enough anymore. You need to upgrade to the protection of a next-generation firewall or unified threat management device that combines all of today's necessary defenses in a single, easy-to-manage and cost-effective appliance. What the ISP provides is just not sufficient anymore, and while some of the lower-end devices may get you the connectivity you want, are they really offering you the protection that you need for the kind of data that you're housing at your practice? A good example would be WatchGuard's platform. It delivers data defense in depth in multiple categories, such as user identity controls, advanced persistent threat protection, data loss prevention, web content filtering, gateway antivirus, application control, reputation-enabled defenses, spam blocker, intrusion prevention. And WatchGuard's proxy-based network inspection runs on top of industry-standard hardware and virtualization platforms such as Freescale, Intel, VMware, and Microsoft Hyper-V. Remember, the more layers of defense you create, the more layers of defense you create to prevent different types of cyber attacks, the more you maximize your protection. Each link in a hacker's chain of attack represents an opportunity for you to implement a defense. This is called the kill chain. This is how hackers find their way into your network, and just kind of a step-by-step on what they do to steal your data. For example, step one is reconnaissance. They like to go in and learn about the target using many techniques. A lot of these techniques are automated and deliver information directly back to a place on the internet where they can gather it. Once they've done recon, then they plan the delivery, which is the actual transmitting of the payload via a certain security vector, whichever they deem most appropriate. Then there's the compromise or exploitation. This is where they take advantage of some software or human weakness to get the payload to run, whether that's a pop-up on a computer or something where an application runs that says your computer's infected, you need to click here to clean it up, and when you click there, well, then the actual compromise starts to run. Then there's the infection and installation. The payload establishes persistence on an individual host. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's only on one computer. The payload could actually be installed across multiple computers in case one computer fails or is turned off. But then they can still, maintain a presence within your network on another host within there. Then there's command and control. That's the actual communication from wherever that software is hosted in your network back to the hacker itself or group of hackers. The malware calls home and provides the attacker control over the computer and or network. And then there's a little word called exfiltration. And that's just a really fancy word for exporting the data that the attacker wants to take. And they can do that usually through very simple means, such as an FTP or something like that. Usually it's unsecured even. But by the time they get to the point of exfiltration, it's pretty well game over. They've gotten the information that they want and are going to do horrible things with it. So step 3 in this is recognizing the signs of a breach. Small businesses are breached every day, but a third of them admit to being uncertain about whether or not they were attacked. For both small and large organizations, it takes an average of 80 days for businesses to notice they've been breached, sometimes longer. By that time, the damage is already done. Often these breaches are missed because of too much security data. Since you can never have a perfect defense, the third critical step in your security strategy is to implement discovery and response tools. to help you see and handle incidents as they get past your gates. You need a tool that brings the data from all of your security controls together and correlates different security triggers into a single incident so you don't miss the signs of a sophisticated multi-vector attack. Just something to point out, of all the things used to detect an attack, log review accounted for only 1% of breach discoveries. The biggest couple of things for breach discoveries were actually coming from credit card companies and from the people who were actually had their identity stolen. Were reporting it back. And that's a horrible way to find out that you've had a breach, is when one of your clients or patients comes back and says, hey, my data was stolen from your office. That's a bad deal. You got to recognize the signs of a breach. Visibility into your computer network is essential to knowing and understanding the many facets of your network. Your firewall sees everything that happens in your network. From there, it produces log files, often by the thousands. What this causes is what we call a sea of data. It equates to about 10,000 lines of logs for a small network over a 4-hour period. So imagine trying to read 10, 20, or 100,000 log entries just to find the sign of a single breach. It's nearly impossible. So just a few things to remember as we close on this presentation. Use layered defenses to prevent network intrusions. Don't just use the ISP's hardware for your network. Use a firewall or UTM appliance. Teach your users the good network security habits, such as don't click on links that you're not sure of. Don't open documents and emails that you aren't sure of. Don't go to websites that are inappropriate for the work environment. Don't email PII or PHI via unsecure or non-corporate email systems. That's very important. Create a technology policy for your practice that meets compliance requirements for HIPAA, PCI, Sarbanes-Oxley, GLB, and other government or industry standards as required. Educate your employees on the policy and make them accountable. Have a security assessment done and use it to improve your security. Don't provide unsecured guest Wi-Fi to visitors. That's very important. Probably one of the most important things, though, is ensure all of your company's software has regular updates scheduled. Make it a priority. And implement a good backup and recovery plan and test it regularly. Because if all else fails, you can stay in business by having a good backup plan, especially if you can recover from it. So just a little bit about WatchGuard, what we do. WatchGuard provides a complete portfolio of advanced network security solutions for protecting organizations, their data, their employees, and their customers. We work in 3 primary areas: high-performance UTM and next-generation firewalls, network threat visibility and detection, and secure wireless access points. You can reach out to Henry Schein, and they can tell you more about those 3 areas that we work with them in. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to do this presentation today. Please feel free to reach out to Henry Schein with any questions about the presentation you may have, and we'll be glad to work together in getting you an answer to your inquiries as quickly as possible. Once again, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you, Tony. Thank you for all that information. It's very valuable. And here at Tech Central, we're constantly looking for the best partners to ensure that our customers have the solutions to help protect their networks from the data breach. So I want to thank you for that great presentation. If you have any questions for Tony, go ahead and submit that in the Q&A app. We'll go ahead and field those at the end of the presentation. But I'm going to turn some time over to Brian Calverley, our National Sales Manager now. He has 20 years in the dental industry, or dental technology industry, and he's going to explain some of the solutions that Tech Central offers to help you protect against some of this cybercrime.
Thanks, Alan. I think Tony covered a wide breadth of topics and conversations there. I thought it was really interesting. Everyone remembers the attacks on Home Depot and Target a couple of years ago, but it's kind of, in my opinion, fallen off the radar to some degree. You mentioned 7% of the healthcare, the breaches in security were healthcare targets. No one wants to be part of that low-hanging fruit that he mentioned, that ransomware targets for dental offices. And you really have to have a turnkey security partner in order to be successful. It's not just one piece of the puzzle that makes it all work together. Tony touched on the Internet security appliance versus the router that WatchGuard offers. This is there's so many offices I walk into that still have that purple Linksys router that's been in their office for 10 or 15 years that's just simply out of date and no longer sufficient to protect the practices from these sophisticated attacks that are out there. When you look at something like WatchGuard's offering in this space, it offers intrusion prevention. It has internet filtering built into the router itself, and that allows you to do a lot. Like you mentioned on the Wi-Fi issues that practices are facing, everyone wants to allow their patients to have a public Wi-Fi connection to be able to access the internet while they're in their practice. But you have to secure it, and you really have to filter it to make sure that you're not exposing yourself to possible litigation because of inappropriate websites or content or whatever it might be in your office. So it's just a very important piece to cover. It is, like you mentioned too, part of an overall security policy, though. So much of these problems come because of human error and hacking, and I still see practices out there that don't have a basic internet usage policy. It's very easy to set that up and explain to your office team how important it is to use the systems in your practice in a business environment so that you're not risking your patient information. Just to give you some basic information about the WatchGuard offering, that is a security appliance that starts around $1,200. It includes 3 years of gateway-level antivirus and web filtering and web blocker, including HTTP and HTTPS blocking. Lots of people have discovered that most internet filtering services don't block the secure part of the internet. So if you type HTTPS instead of HTTP, then there's ways to get around the filtering from a lot of different practices. WatchGuard does not have that vulnerability. So it's a great piece to an overall technology puzzle. It's not the entire piece. You still need antivirus on your workstations. You still need these other parts to the service, but it just makes this an important piece of it. You also need to work with the right partners. As being part of Henry Schein, we get exposed to vendors that want to break into the dental industry all the time, and it's our responsibility to filter those vendors and make sure that the solutions that we're providing to our customers are effective and work towards a turnkey solution. As part of our ongoing support that we offer customers, we do things like Tony mentioned as far as monitoring your logs on your server, making sure that you're not waiting weeks or finding out from a patient that you have a hack, that you can get a weekly server health report that shows attempted intrusions, that covers server optimization for your practice, along with the option to do maintenance on those servers and do your updates and those things for you. We find that a lot of practices want to offload those maintenance tasks to their IT provider, and Henry Schein provides that as part of their hardware support options. That's in addition to unlimited calls. The standard fare you might find from other providers as well is included, with the addition of on-site break-fix help as well. So if you have a problem that you can't fix remotely, we can send a technician to your practice to help resolve the issue at a reduced fee as well. Everyone wants to know, what can I do to find out where do I have deficiencies in my practice? We always recommend offices start with a network assessment. Our technology consultants are trained to perform a comprehensive technology assessment. We will come out to your practice and help you by providing a inventory of your current network infrastructure, your PCs, your servers, your routers, and antivirus, everything in your practice will be inventoried so that you can compare it to the requirements for your software. We see tons of offices that are out of date with their practice management software because their computer hardware is lacking to be able to support the latest updates, and that's putting your security at risk as well. So we can help with planning for technology upgrades, make sure you understand the life cycle of your equipment, and what things might be inadequate for your practice. Of course, if you're having problems as well, that'll help identify any root causes to those problems. And as always, there's no fee to the practice for these services. Alan?
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that. We did have a couple of questions come in, so we'll go ahead and move to our question and answer portion of our webinar. But we did have a couple of questions come in for Tony. The first question is, what are the most important things I can do to secure my company's network from viruses, malware, and ransomware? Tony?
Thanks, Alan. Thanks for the question. Obviously, one of the most important things you can do is provide that defense in depth. Ensure that you've got a good UTM appliance or next-gen firewall at the gateway. Ensure that you've got proper antivirus, anti-malware on each of the local machines, and then, provide that backup solution. So in the event that something does find its way in, then you can back up or recover from that backup as quickly as possible, so that you don't create a situation where you have a lot of downtime. The biggest thing though is updates. Make sure that you're on a regularly scheduled update time frame, so that your software is prepared to handle as best possible the latest attacks that are coming out. That's pretty much it right there.
Thanks, Tony. We had another question come in. Says, with all the levels of protection you speak about, how is it that network infections such as malware or ransomware can still occur?
Well, the reason that malware and ransomware still occur is because they are what's called polymorphic pieces of software. What that means is for example, we'll take Locky, for example. Locky came out originally around 2013. It came out as one kind of software. Well, once definitions were written, the hacker went back and changed some of the code in that software, and while it still did the same thing, it came up and looked like a different piece of software to antivirus, gateway antivirus, and intrusion prevention systems. So it's what's called a zero-day infection. Because it doesn't recognize it, there's no definitions written for it. It can continue to run evasive measures to get around those different kinds of software and prevention methodologies. And so there's actually malware that's written today that can morph on the fly. So, for example, let's say that a piece of malware comes in and hits your network, and it sees that you have, anti-malware, you've got gateway anti-malware, intrusion prevention, and it sees that definition is stopping it. It can actually take a step back and try to re-enter the network with a different code base. Some of this software is very, very intelligent. It's frightening how intelligent it is, actually. So there are things that can be done, like our advanced persistent threat blocker, that can, it's not definition based, but it is action based on the software that can determine whether or not that piece of software is a malware and classify it, and then block it without the use of definitions.
Perfect, thanks. All right, I think that's all the time we have for questions today, but if you submitted a question and you didn't receive a response, please, we'll go ahead and respond to those questions via email, so look for those responses within the next day or so. Of course, if you'd like to get more information about the solutions that TechCentral has to protect your practice, you can visit our website at www.henryshinetechcentral.com/protectyourpractice, or you can contact our support team directly. You can call 877-483-0382, and then you'll be able to get a hold of our support team directly. In addition, there's a survey off to the right. Make sure you fill out that survey and let us know how we did, and also let us know if you'd like us to follow up with you. Again, we want to thank our presenters today, and we'd like to thank each of you for attending, and we appreciate your support, and we look forward to working with you in the future. And have a great day.